We are being watched. Not by some tiny flying saucer you see in the movies, mate. This time, it's a giant that's traveled thousands of light years just to smash every single physics textbook we own, right under the noses of our scientists. Forget those dull, dirty snowball comets. This object, named 3A Atlas, is the third interstellar visitor we've ever clocked. But unlike its two siblings, Atlas is pulling off the impossible. Its tail is pointing straight at the sun. A complete full stop against everything Newton and Copernicus ever taught us. NASA has just activated its planetary defense protocols. Not because it's about to hit us, but because they are spooked by what it might do. Professor A.V.I. Lubb from Harvard, the bloke who risked his career to spill the beans, is not using a mitre anymore. He's calling it straight. This could be alien technology. Today, Space Plus isn't just taking you comet watching. We're going to crack the code of silence behind the global space agencies, and figure out what's actually rolling up to our front door. Get your heads in the game, because this yarn is packed with 100% accurate science, irrefutable evidence, and implications that could change how humanity celebrates Christmas this year. Right then, you keen lot, buckle up, because we are firing straight into the heart of the biggest scientific Barney of the century. The reverse waltz. Physics laws get flipped the bird. Let's start with what we already know. A normal comet, or what we affectionately call a dirty snowball, as it zooms in close to the sun, the heat makes the ice melt, releasing vapor and dust. The solar wind, a ridiculously fast stream of charged particles, always pushes this tail of material away from the sun. It's a space rule that's absolutely rock solid, like knowing your summer in Australia hits right in December. But what about 3I Atlas? Well, this one's a proper naughty bugger, completely ignoring the rulebook. When first spotted, Atlas's tail was actually pointing straight towards the sun. This is utterly impossible under standard orbital mechanics. Picture driving your car, and the exhaust smoke is belching out the front instead of the back. A bit ridiculous, eh? Professor A.V.I. Lubb described this phenomenon across 2 scientific papers. He had to concede, for that tail to form that way, there must be an extremely strong non-gravitational force acting on the object, and that force had to be opposite to the sun's radiation pressure. He proposed a hypothesis involving specific dust grains, but even Lubb had to admit, the data just wasn't enough to deliver a definite conclusion. 2 papers, hundreds of calculations, and the result is still, we can't explain this. When the fundamental physics stops working, that's when you start thinking about engines. Could it be that 3I Atlas isn't a chunk of ice at all, but a machine slamming on the brakes? The switch flip, the clearest technological signature yet. If the anti-tail was impossible, then what happened next was a shocker. In September, something terrifying occurred. The tail flipped direction. Simply, suddenly, and almost instantaneously. Images from the Nordic Optical Telescope showed this shift. From the anti-tail persisting in July and August, 3I Atlas abruptly turned, well-behaved, and displayed a normal tail in September. Imagine 3I Atlas as a submarine. Initially, it cranked its propulsion system to decelerate or adjust its course in interstellar space, or creating the anti-tail. Then, once it had reached the desired spot, or perhaps, had collected enough reconnaissance data, someone flipped the switch and returned it to conventional mode, allowing the solar wind to push the escaping material in the expected direction. This just doesn't look natural. Nature changes gradually. This instantaneous transition is exactly like a control system being activated. It is almost a technological signature boldly printed across the sky. Scientists are scratching their heads searching for a natural explanation, but no model can account for such a rapid and dramatic change. It wasn't a geophysical event, it was a programmed event. Exceeding the scale, the elephant in ants' clothing. If the story wasn't already bonkers enough, let's talk size. Oumuamua, that famous first interstellar object, was only about 100 meters, roughly the length of a footy field. Now, 3I Atlas? Professor Lubb estimates it's anywhere from 1,000 to 1,000,000 times larger. We are talking about an object measured in kilometers. This mass disparity is the crucial point, mates. A small object is easily affected by little non-gravitational pushes. A massive object like 3I Atlas would need a colossal energy source to change its trajectory or speed, especially after traveling such an enormous interstellar distance. This isn't just the difference between two specks of dust. This is the difference between a pebble and a battleship. If 3I Atlas is a spacecraft, it must be a megastructure with unbelievable self-sustaining capabilities. A machine engineered to withstand the harshest interstellar conditions and still maintain absolute, pinpoint control. What's harder to hide than a massive secret? A giant reconnaissance machine running on chemical propellant, and it's right there in our sights. The chemistry of suspicion, interstellar industrial exhaust. The JWST, or James Webb Space Telescope, our multibillion-dollar eye, has been giving us the lowdown on the composition of 3I Atlas. Regular comets are often a whopping 90% water ice. But 3I Atlas? This thing is different, check it out. 87% carbon dioxide, 9% carbon monoxide, and a measly 4% water. This makeup simply doesn't stack up against any comet model we've ever clapped eyes on. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, and carbon monoxide, or CO, are seriously volatile compounds. They kick out a massive amount of energy when they vaporize. Now, picture this. If an advanced civilization needed a superpotent and highly efficient propulsion system for an interstellar trip, they wouldn't muck around with water ice. They'd use highly volatile materials, capable of generating huge thrust when heated, materials like CO2 and CO. The chemical signature of 3I Atlas looks far more like leaking chemical rocket fuel than some random space rock brewed up in the solar nebula. It's a bit like finding an empty water bottle out in the scorching desert, but instead of clear spring water, it's got the residue of jet fuel. You've simply got to ask, who was the driver of this rig? The impossible, a tourist, a route, a visit with a purpose. This is statistically undeniable evidence. The orbit of 3I Atlas sits almost exactly in the ecliptic plane, that's where all our planets orbit. The odds of a random interstellar object slipping into this plane are about 1 in 500. But 3I Atlas didn't just slip in. It's making a close call with 3 strategic planets. Mars, home to our rovers and orbiters. Venus, our closest neighbor. Jupiter, the gravitational powerhouse of the outer solar system. Professor Lubb zeroed in on the word purpose. This trajectory isn't just a random cosmic stumble. This is precisely the route a reconnaissance mission would choose to gather the most comprehensive, most efficient data about our solar system. When the cosmos sends an object bigger than an elephant, following the most precise route, and suddenly changes direction, that's not a fluke. That's a scheduled visit. The blind spot, the clandestine rendezvous on October 29th. The blind spot, the clandestine rendezvous on October 29. October 29, 2025. Perihelion. The most crucial moment. If 3A Atlas is a spacecraft, this is the time it will execute critical gravitational maneuvers to harvest energy or change its heading. And here's the bit that gives everyone the willies. At that exact time, 3A Atlas is completely obscured behind the Sun. We can't observe it from Earth. This is the dream runner timing for a craft that absolutely does not want to be bothered. If 3A Atlas accelerates, decelerates, or, as Professor Love suspects, releases mini-probes towards the planets, we simply won't know. Absolute silence will descend, and we'll only find out the results weeks later, when it emerges again in December. It's like knowing you've got a burglar in the house, but your camera just went on the blink at the most vital moment. That feeling of sheer helplessness is currently dominating the scientific community. Data blackout and planetary defense protocols. Why are global space agencies, particularly those usually famous for being upfront, suddenly going dead silent? The MRO data blockade. This move, blocking AVI Lab's access to the highest resolution images from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, is unprecedented. Why is scientific data suddenly being classified like a state secret? Comet data has never been affected by political shenanigans. The Planetary Defense Trigger. This protocol was originally set up for the doomsday scenario, an asteroid that's dead set on hitting Earth. Now, 3A Atlas is hightailing it out of the solar system, not coming in. So, why on earth would they activate the protocol? They are not worried about a ding-dong collision. They are worried about the action. They are terrified of what it might do, or what it might release. The silence itself is the biggest smoking gun. When the data gets this wonky, and major agencies start acting as if they are dealing with a military threat, you've got to ask the million-dollar question: what exactly do they know that we don't? Juno is listening. The tech signal. This is absolutely scorching hot news. NASA's Juno spacecraft, currently zipping around Jupiter, has had its antennae adjusted to point directly at 3A Atlas. The goal is to hunt for transmitted radio signals. If Juno picks up anything, any narrow-band electromagnetic pulse, that would be an undeniable techno-signature. It would prove that 3A Atlas isn't just a space rock, it's a transmitter, an active machine that's sending data back home. Imagine this. Juno is playing the part of a cosmic eavesdropper, trying to catch the whisper of an extraterrestrial. If it is transmitting, what on earth is it reporting? Perhaps it's saying, "Target surveyed. Data collection on Earth successful. Proceeding to the next phase." The fact that the international scientific community, including the International Asteroid Warning Network, has mobilized observatories to this unprecedented degree, just to track this object, shows you exactly how seriously they're taking this possibility. The Christmas gift that changes humanity. The moment of revelation. December. That's when the whole shebang gets revealed. December 19th, that's when 3A Atlas makes its closest approach to Earth. A week before Christmas, no less. This is the crunch time when every sneaky maneuver it pulled off back in the October blind spot is going to be laid bare. If it's just a comet, it'll pop out with an orbit that's pretty much business as usual. Game over. We breathe a massive sigh of relief, even if a few niggling questions still hang about. If it's technology, we'll spot a change in speed, a little tweak to its trajectory, or maybe even evidence of smaller bits, meaning those mini probes have been launched. AVI Lab calls it the Christmas gift, the present that confirms we are not alone in the universe. Everything we thought we knew about human history, philosophy, and religion could be totally rewritten by just one tiny bit of data collected during that Christmas week. We're in the weirdest spot, aren't we? We are literally waiting for the announcement on whether or not we are the center of the cosmic universe. The 3A Atlas story isn't just some dodgy conspiracy theory. It's the result of a massive pileup of 10 verified scientific proofs, which, when you chuck them all together, make the probability of this being random statistically zero. We've seen physics get bent out of shape, a flip of a mechanical switch, a colossal size coupled with the chemical signature of a rocket engine, and a reconnaissance route that looks completely planned. We've copped an eyeful of terrifying silence and urgent preparations from the biggest agencies on the planet. This whole saga teaches us a core lesson, a philosophy that Space Plus is dead keen on sharing. Science isn't some dusty textbook of dead formulas. Science is a bloody adventure. And a proper scientist needs enough guts to face up to the most uncomfortable possibilities. In the cosmos, coincidence is a brilliant magician. But sometimes, what you reckon is magic, is actually just a technology you are not quite up to speed with yet. And 3A Atlas is holding the key to that truth. What's your take? Is 3A Atlas some utterly bonkers natural monster, or is it a reconnaissance spaceship sending a postcard home? Drop your thoughts, or your most outrageous guess, right now in the comments below. Tell us, what the heck is truly going down in that solar blind spot? If this story has rattled your brain and you've got that irresistible urge to know more, don't just cruise on by. Come and be an astronaut with Space Plus. Hit that subscribe button right now. It's not just a click, it's your boarding pass straight into the eye of the scientific storm. And make sure you smash that notification bell so when the truth about Atlas is finally unveiled in December, you'll be one of the first to get the world-changing news. Space Plus, it's time to launch your curiosity into orbit, mate. Welcome aboard.